Hello there, welcome to Cool Talk. This is my reaction to the last few episodes of Game of Thrones. Now you'll notice that this is a rush job. I'm a little bit more subdued in this one. It's just my immediate reactions. I didn't have time to prepare anything. I have no notes. I'm just going to talk. And I think that I haven't felt this way since 20 years ago when I saw Godfather 3, which was such a disaster, a disappointment. And Game of Thrones, I was not as big as fan as some people that I know. I came late into the show. I kind of binge watched the first several seasons. And then, obviously, I did notice how the storyline began to be rushed, especially in season 8. And I think that's where most people are lying right now. People were fine at the end of season 7, even though some of the same complaints were coming up. The story was rushed. Some of the storylines and character arcs were going nowhere. All that was a problem back in season 7. Season 8, though, I would say that the first 3 episodes were okay, mostly because everybody was preparing for that famous battle at Winterfell. Episode 2, where everybody was sitting around and they just took it easy, stood by the fireplace and told their stories, was a very good episode. The battle at Winterfell, a little bit too dark, yes, I agree, but still an awesome battle. The problem started in episode 4 when we got hints of the whole... By the way, there's spoilers here, so you shouldn't be here if you haven't seen this, so spoiler ahead. Episode 4, that's where the problems began, because we got a foreshadowing of what was going to happen in episode 5, and we were not prepared for Daenerys to become the Mad Queen. If they were going to go in that direction, they should have started the foreshadowing long ago. Not just foreshadowing, but actually show us some character development, proving to us that, yes, Daenerys is on her way to becoming the Mad Queen, and oh my goodness, what are we going to do when she does? That would have helped, even with the 13 episode rush that they did. If they would have started this in season 7, show Daenerys showing hints that she could be even more cruel than she already had, we would have been more ready to see this. That was episode 4, where we saw the foreshadowing. So everybody entered episode 5 knowing there was a battle and knowing how disappointed we would be if she became the Mad Queen. So what does she do? She becomes the Mad Queen, destroys a whole city. Nobody was ready for genocide coming from one of the favorite characters, fan favorite, and we have to say, she did win the Game of Thrones. I mean, she did take over. We don't like the way she did it, but if you think about it, men on Game of Thrones have been conquering by killing everybody, by doing more and more killing. Now, Daenerys was criticized because she was the best at it. So, now, you could always argue, well, okay, yes, but we saw her as a good, and she was fighting battles for a necessary good. I think there was a good scene in episode 6 where Tyrion explained that as long as she was killing evil men, everybody was okay and cheering her on, not knowing that they were feeding her bloodlust. She became more and more hungry for power and full of the notion that she was correct and that she was good. That was a very good line. If we had had some of that much earlier, episode 5 and 6 would have been easier to take. And if we had had that, we would have been okay with her becoming the Mad Queen. In essence, we would have been okay going into episode 6. Episode 6, however, was very rushed. I want to talk about a positive real quickly, though. One of the positive things I can say about all of the episodes of Game of Thrones, and including episode 6, was the production value. When she walked out there, it looked like a dystopian, Stalinistic, Hitlerian concept. She was there in front of her stormtroopers, and they were following her until the death if they had to. That was an awesome scene, an awesome view. Also, when Tyrion was walking through the city, you see all the rubble. You see a man walking with a lot of his skin hanging off, and you say, wow, this looks like Hiroshima. And I think that was the intent. A weapon of mass destruction, dragons. You can also argue right there What would have happened if Tywin had a dragon? Well, of course, villages and towns and cities would have been destroyed at the same level. So the fact that Daenerys had her weapon tells you why she was able to kill at the level that she did. However, yes, I agree. We wanted to have the good Daenerys, and she went mad. Moving on from that, though, episode 6, that was a very strong beginning. And I would say that the first 20 minutes where Peter Dinklage cried over the bodies of his siblings under the rubble, and the walk through the city, and Daenerys speaking before her troops, was very good, very awesome. And I think one of the reasons it was good is because it was slowed down. We were able to catch our breath and enjoy the show as an audience. However, Jon Snow had to take some convincing. I can buy that because it's Jon Snow. He's never been the brightest bulb in the box, but also because he was in love. So it took some talking to get Jon Snow to get there. When he finally went over and killed Daenerys, I think the line that did it was when he mentioned, what about other people that have their own concept of good? And she said, well, they don't get to choose. So he realized right there and then, that yes, she is a tyrant and there was no going back. So he kills her. Big loopholes, however. Drogon comes along and it looks like he's going to kill Jon Snow, which, by the way, I would have been fine with that if Jon Snow would have burned to death and given his life, that Daenerys and Jon Snow both die. I know that's sad. We don't want to see that, but it would have made a little bit more sense than what we got. I mean, Drogon the Dragon burned down the Iron Chair, and I don't think the dragon is that clever to burn down the wheel, as she called it, and I don't know. It's an animal, so I just don't get it. Maybe dragons are more clever than we think, and maybe she told them about the Iron Throne. I don't know. I didn't quite get that. Next big loophole, however, was a dragon flew away with Daenerys' body and the murder weapon. So there was no evidence of Jon Snow having killed her. So, which leads me to say, well, how did the Unsullied find out that Jon Snow killed Daenerys? Did he confess? What's crazy about it is I believe that Jon Snow is dumb enough to even do that. Yes, he would probably confess, I killed the queen and here I am at your hands, and that he was willing to pay the price. Guilt-ridden, yes, I could see Jon Snow doing something like that, but we didn't see it. So that's a loophole. Arya going all the way to King's Landing to kill Cersei. She didn't get to do it. And then episode 5 led us to believe she was going to try to kill Daenerys. She didn't get to do that either. So that was kind of a storyline that went nowhere. At the very end of the show, when the council gets together, they decide they're going to choose a king or queen. We didn't get to see any letters being sent out to them, armies and troops surrounding the city. We saw none of that. And the Unsullied and the Dothraki at that point had no dragon. So they could have been taken. Which leads me to say, well, why didn't they take it? Sansa could have taken the city, and then right after that, established Jon Snow as the new king, which was his that was his birthright. Well, that birthright went nowhere. Nowhere did the fact that he was Aegon Targaryen come into the picture. It was a little bit of a plot device to kind of set Daenerys off and get her even more paranoid in the previous episodes, but nothing was made of it. And when they were in the council, I was waiting for Sam or somebody to say, everybody, Jon is the new king. He's king by rights. That's just the way it should be. We didn't get that. And the fact that the whole storyline was leading to that and then it just threw it away feeds into the disappointment that a lot of people have been feeling with the show. So there is that. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of character arcs that were going in one direction, went nowhere. Bronn getting the High Garden was great. I'm glad for him, but that he was going to kill Tyrion and Jaime, and then he said, I won't if you give me something. That was kind of a waste of time. If they're going to rush the story, you might as well leave all of that out. And then Bronn could have been at the table at the end, and you find out that he gets High Garden and that he's on the council. him being master of coin kind of doesn't fit Bronn, in my opinion. So I don't know what to say. But I can accept that. A little bit more hesitant to think of Podrick becoming a knight, and now his job is to wheel the king around. I guess that is an important post, so okay, I'll buy that. But now I come to my next complaint, girl power. In the previous season, some people were cheering, some were complaining. There was a lot of girl power on the show. We had Sansa, Yara, Cersei, Daenerys. It led us to believe there would be a queen at the end of this. But I think people would have accepted Jon Snow anyway. However, going back to what I said about Daenerys, she did the men's job the best. She killed the best. She actually earned the Iron Throne. Okay, what happened. Moving on, though. Brienne got betrayed by Jaime. I can say that, okay, she's the bigger person because she was completing Jaime Lannister's story in that book. Okay, but why not leave that out and maybe have Sam or Podrick or somebody else tell Brienne that she is going to be included in that book, that somebody is going to write her story of Sir Brienne of Tarth. I think that would have been better. So Sansa becoming Queen of the North, that is what she wanted. So I'm fine with that. I'm a little hazy about Arya. She's going to become some kind of explorer. If there's a sequel to this, then fine. I'm not content with Jon Snow going back to the Wall because I was a little confused. He goes back to the Wall as what? Is he Lord Commander again? Is he just wearing the black? It looked like he was leading the free folk back to their lands. And you think, okay, is he going back to the Wall? But they closed the door behind him. He looked at the door like that was the end of a chapter. So I don't know if he's going to live among the free folk. So in the end, if you see my previous episode, you'll see my disappointment and my talk as to why this show was rushed. And it's basically another case of lost opportunity and what might have been. One final complaint and I'll wrap it up. A lot of people have been signing a petition to get HBO to do the last season all over again. I think we all know that's not going to happen. And it also makes me wonder, are these millennials, I mean, who are these people that are doing this? You don't get what you're not entitled to anything. It's a TV show, and that's all it is. You're welcome to be happy, you're welcome to be sad. And by the way, I shouldn't say that about millennials. I think there's a lot of middle-aged people that are in the same boat. You're signing petitions for what? HBO is not going to repeat that last season. It's not going to happen. Everybody's moved on to other projects. So, but to even think that, oh, this is going to happen, we're going to sign a petition, leads me to say there's a lot of people out there that have a sense of self-importance and entitlement. It's a TV show. You're not going to get that. Silver lining on all of this, I'll say, well, it was quite a run. It was a great show leading up to the end, unfortunately. And there are the prequels and sequels to look forward to. Perhaps some of these characters will come back. I don't know. But we did have a good time watching. It was something that kind of united us culturally. Worldwide, actually. So thank you, HBO. Thank you, Game of Thrones. Sorry about that ending. And all the actors, hats off. Anyway, tell me what you think. Send me your likes or dislikes. Subscribe or comment below. This is Cool Talk.